Hi beautiful YouTube family, Lisa A. Romano here, the Breakthrough Life Coach, and today I've been asked to do a video specifically to address how it is that we can stop attracting narcissistic people and or dysfunctional people like alcoholics or people in general that just tend not to have our best interest at heart. And what we first have to understand is truly that the way we treat ourselves ends up being the projection that we put out into the world. And so we need to backtrack a little bit because we have to understand this codependency thing. If you were raised by people who taught you that what you thought and what you felt and what you needed was unimportant, that's your schema. That's your program. And if you look at it as you would, I heard someone describe it something like playing a video game. And I like to say that if you can imagine that when you were a little girl or a little boy, your subconscious mind was literally being programmed like a video game. And you know how Nintendo and the old Nintendo and PlayStations, they would have cartridges that you would stick into the console? Well, you have to imagine, or it helps you to imagine that the information that you receive from your environment became like this cartridge that was being plugged into your brain, into your subconscious mind. Now, we're unaware. So we're unaware. So we are downloaded from 0 to 12, and then we go out into the world with this computer programming chip in our head, and we're not even aware that we're doing it. And our old movies from the past, all they've done is recreated themselves in the future. And so if we were abused by our mothers and fathers, we end up attracting those types of partners in our adult life. We end up having bosses like that. We end up having friends like that. It's just really amazing when you think about it, dear ones. And bottom line, it's not even your fault. It's not your fault that if you were downloaded to believe that you weren't enough. So the first thing that we have to do is understand that that's the way things work, that what we're experiencing out here is all because of what we're experiencing in here, behind our eyes. So we do have a third eye, and that eye is looking and constantly reviewing the programs from the past, or the tapes from the past, or the movies of the past. And that third eye sits behind your physical eyes and almost works to translate or project through your physical eyes. It's so bizarre, but it's so real. So whatever's going on in here ends up being projected out there. And so if you understand that that's the nature of the way things work, then when you're posed with the question, how do I stop attracting these types of people? Well, then you have to understand that you've got to stop or change what's happening in here. So it's not going to just happen overnight. You're going to have to take practical steps to help you, first of all, assess the data, assess the program. You literally have this chip that's kind of this cartridge that's been shoved into your brain, and until you learn that there is a cartridge there, and until you learn that it's not your fault that it is there, and until you learn that you have the power to take it out and actually rewire your whole system, then until you figure that out, then you're going to walk around like a zombie attracting the people that you've always attracted. And you're going to be unhappy and stuck in these dynamics that are very codependent and very enmeshing. And when you're codependent, you feel like this with someone, They move and then you move. So often what will happen is one person will be happy, and then the partner doesn't like that person's happy, and they feel the shift in the relationship. They don't like that the balance isn't had. So what they'll do is, if let's say you're happy, if you're in a narcissistic or codependent relationship, what will happen is your partner will do whatever he or she can to bring you down, so that the equilibrium, the dysfunctional equilibrium of the relationship can be maintained. So there's also lots of times where if you've attracted a negative person into your life, what will happen is they go out of their way to deliberately upset you. They will go out of their way to gaslight you. They'll call you crazy, or they'll do things to upset you, and then they'll act like everything's fine. And as you're reacting, that's when they're calling you names. And that's not your fault. Because if you've been picked on as a child, then that's your data. That's your programming. You've attracted someone into your life experience who treats you very much the way you were treated when you were a little girl or you were a little boy. And so one of the visualizations, another visualization that I'd like to leave you with is this. I want you to imagine that vibrational frequencies are colors, and that vibrational entities and energies are colors. And imagine if you were raised by an alcoholic and let's say your dad was an alcoholic and your mom was very codependent, very needy, and childlike. So as you're growing up, you are a love being. You're innocent. And you're constantly flowing love to the people in your environment. So you don't know that the people who you love are incapable of flowing love back. All you know is that you're flowing love. So you, in your child's mind, don't really understand cognitively that there's an issue and it's not your fault. All you know is that you love these people and you presume these people love you back, or at least they should. Now, what happens on the landscape of your heart, which then sends information to your brain, is if love isn't flowed back to you, you feel bad. And then what children do is they merge with that feeling. So they feel bad, that information gets shunted to the brain, it gets impressed with the feeling of being bad, and the being feels bad, because that's what's being projected back to them. The child's immature brain doesn't understand that he or she can feel bad about the way they're being treated and keep it out here. That's mom and dad stuff. You know, mom and dad are incapable of loving me because dad's an alcoholic and he's self-absorbed and he's obsessed with his addiction and distraction. And mom is codependent and she's just worried about keeping dad comfortable and safe. And I'm getting ignored here, and all the siblings, all the children are getting ignored, and they're just out of it. And that feels bad. But what'll happen is, and children can't objectify that. So when they feel this negative energy, they merge with this energy. So what's really important to remember, dear ones, and this is not your fault, is that the data that you have for love is being downloaded into you. So mom and dad, even though they're dysfunctional, guess what? That's your data for love. So if you were ignored, that's part of your, if you will, if you write the word love on a piece of paper, and then what you do is then you associate all the sub-feelings, if you will, that you associate with love. Distrust, anger, frustration, disillusionment, powerlessness. So what you do is you would understand on a piece of paper, you would write down all these other feelings that you have associated with love based on your childhood experiences. I had a client today, and what I asked her to do was get a beautiful glass vase or vase and write on the outside of it, perhaps with an index card or with some type of a Sharpie marker, the word love, and put in it, like strips of paper, use all the adjectives that you would use to describe your old version of love or your old ideas of love, and then put them in this vase. And then get a second vase and write future authentic love. And then begin to imagine what real love feels like. For instance, real love feels content. It feels peaceful. It's kind. It keeps no records of wrongs. It is forgiving. It is understanding. It goes both ways. You know, that's what the infinity symbol is all about. You know, so often I hear people say, but I love him, He doesn't love you back. So if this dude is not being nice to you, then there's no infinity symbol. That's not love. Love feels good, and it always comes back. So be careful of the word love. The word love is a sacred, sacred word, and people use it way too often, and they throw this word around. And I believe if anyone's using the term, like, you know, that don't use the name of thy God in vain. Well, God is love. So don't use the word love in vain. When someone says they love you, you should feel it. It should feel content. It should feel peaceful. It should feel knowing. You should feel like someone's in your corner. If you don't feel that way, then don't make a mockery of love. Don't call that love. Don't call that love. You can call it your skewed version of love, your child's version of love, but don't call that mature love. That's not mature love. So I really hope that you guys walk away from this video understanding that the way to stop attracting negative people and narcissistic people is by recognizing the pattern that is within you that is not your fault, dear ones, it's not your fault. Recognize that you've been downloaded with data that has you falsely believing that this type of behavior is associated with this thing called love. So also understand that love doesn't hurt. Understand that love is supposed to flow. It's supposed to feel good. It's divine. True love is divine. And that the way you see love in here is the result of the way you received love as a child. And as an adult, what you have to do is you have to recognize the way your mind organizes love. And if it doesn't fit, if it's causing you distress in your life, then it's time to pull that game cartridge out. It's time to reframe. It's time to reprogram. It's time to change the landscape of your mind. And that's what all these videos are about, and that's what my meditations are about. They're about helping you see the pattern and then reorganizing the landscape of your mind so that you can create new ideas. Now, your brain needs for you, from a higher perspective, from a higher self perspective, to download it with new information. The brain is not going to just come up with random new ideas about love. You absolutely need to, from a higher self perspective, download your brain with new information. So create those vision boards. You know, I coached another woman today, and she's getting a little bit older, and she's like, I'm getting old, I'm afraid of getting old, blah, 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 all these fears. And I said, okay, you have a fear about love, manifesting love in the future because of your age. So your job is to ease the fear, to soften up the fear, because the fear vibration is a lack vibration, and that vibration is going to cause you to create love relationships that are full of lack. See how it works, dear ones? See how it works? So what I asked her to do was create a vision board and or a vision notebook that was full of older couples. So you want to go through magazines if this is your issue and rip out pictures of couples that represent happiness and fulfillment and contentment and joy, and of all different ages and all different sizes, so that your brain now has new data for love when you're older, for love, that love exists between older couples. I have a great thumbnail on one of my videos that shows this older couple laughing together, and they have no teeth. I mean, it's just so precious, you know. And that's one of the pictures that I have in my vision board, on my vision board, to help my brain has a target for a future type of love. Well, I have that love now in my life. I'm very fortunate, but I want my relationship with my husband to continually evolve and become expansive. And even when, you know, we're all wrinkled and our hair's fallen out and got no teeth, I want to still be laughing. You know, I want to go out laughing. That's really what I want to do at a very ripe old age. But my brain needs to overcome all the fears of aging that have been downloaded into me by society, by our media. And if you don't think you're being subliminally programmed by advertisers, you're naive. You are absolutely. Spend some time Googling subliminal programming in advertising. It blew me away when I realized how deliberate advertisers were when it came to hijacking the mental field of human beings, and how they manipulate your root instincts, your root fears, to get you to buy their products, which I think should be illegal, but whatever. You know, I'm just Lisa A. Romano, the Breakthrough Life Coach, you know, talking about codependency and narcissism and stuff, and trying to get you people to become more light-body activated so we can raise the vibrations of this planet. So dear ones, I really hope that this video has inspired you to stay on course and to take total responsibility for what's happening in your mind and in your heart. Every word gets registered in the universe, everything. If you catch yourself being envious or jealous or angry, accept it, feel it, then decide to release it, somehow get very, very soft about it, because if you stay in that vibration, that's what you're going to attract. So if you're in a relationship with a narcissist and you don't want to let him go because he might actually be happy, pay attention to that, dear one, because if you're keeping him stuck in a relationship because you're pissed and because you want to punish him, guess what's going to show up? You're going to be punished by that relationship. Far too many of us die, men and women die, thinking my spouse will die before me, and then I'll have a few years to myself. How many women and men that I've coached that have said that to me, and personal friends of mine that I know that have actually said that to me, that they thought, well, I thought the ornery SOB was going to die. And then what happens is they're the ones that end up with some god-awful disease because their vibrations have been so jacked with for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And they've suppressed their emotions. And when you suppress your emotions, you block your energetic system. And we are electrical beings, and we're meant to flow. So, and the best vibration that you want to exist in on planet Earth is one of love and light. So we let go out of love and light. We go no contact out of love and light, out of self-love. Dear ones, please let me know if this video has been able to inspire you today. For those of you interested, I have my workshop is now available on MP3 format at www.lisaaromano.com. And it's formatted in a way that children can, well, teenage children, I would say 11 and up, would be able to decipher and hear the information. And we've got to start spreading this information to the younger generation so that they know that it's okay to set boundaries. They know that it's okay to walk away from people. I know I grew up, if I went home and said so-and-so was mean to me, the first thing my mother said was, "What'd you do? What did you do?" like no matter what happened, somehow I did something to elicit the abuse. And so often I was afraid to go home and say, "Mom, this is what happened," because I thought she was going to blame me, and most often that's what happened. So we need to change that paradigm. We need a tremendous paradigm shift. And I am calling on all you parents out there who, if you've discovered that you're a codependent, unfortunately, you've begun planting the seeds of codependency in your children, and now is the time, before they leave your home, now is the time to start correcting that. Dear ones, it is my pleasure to come into your homes and into your minds and into your hearts. I bow to the love and the light in you. Namaste.